Hi everybody, JJ here at Newegg Studios again. So if you guys have been checking out the channel and the recent videos that we've put out, you recently saw that we released a full build guide for how to build a Z390 gaming system, but for the ATX form factor. Following that up, I'm sure a lot of you guys have interest in building a mini ITX system. So we're gonna go ahead and give you a little bit of a highlight of an actual mini ITX system build, and I'm gonna highlight the components that we've got in here. Now this isn't gonna be a full guide like what we had with the full ATX based build. I'd recommend that if you want insights on how to install things like the processor, the memory, graphics cards, and other key components, make sure to go ahead and check out that full-length overview, which gives you a lot more insight in how to build the system. If you're also interested in finding out more about overclocking, you can make sure to check out our in-depth overclocking guide for Z390 and the 9th generation series of processors. With that, let's go ahead and cover what we've got in our mini ITX gaming build. So right off the bat, you can see that we've got a really distinctive, different aesthetic for this Z390 mini ITX gaming build. I want to be able to have something that had a little bit more of a visual presence, at the same time be relatively compact when you're talking about mini ITX build. So we went ahead and tapped Thermaltake's Core P1 series chassis. Now this chassis is really cool because it's got a different vibe where you've of course got a vertical focus that's opened up, and of course you've got tempered side glass panel. Now we've gone ahead and removed that panel just to allow it to have a little bit more breathing room so you guys can clearly see the overall look and feel for this build. One of the other things that I really like about this is that you can actually have flexibility in terms of the mounting of the overall chassis itself. You can actually go with a horizontal base mount configuration as well as the actual vertical orientation that we're utilizing it in. And you also don't have to go with the route that we decided to for the graphics card. If you prefer a traditional horizontal placement as opposed to the vertical orientation that we have, you also have that flexibility. Overall, a really cool chassis that also gives us a ton amount of airflow. And the really cool thing about more airflow is it gives us more overclocking headroom, not only for this 9th gen series processor, but also for our graphics card. Now speaking of course of the key components that we've got here in 9th gen processor, powering the entirety of the system right here is going to be the ASUS ROG STRIX Z390-I gaming board. This is an absolute monster of a board. It's got a really beefy high performance VRM. We have a full overview that talks about all its features and functionality that you can go ahead and check it out. But this board is going to give you a great overclocking experience. It's utilizing the latest Intel 9th Gen 9700K series processor, and we're able to definitely comfortably overclock this beyond 5.2 gigahertz by taking advantage of this high performance AIO solution. In terms of the AIO, it's Thermaltake's Flow 240, but we've gone ahead and upped the ante and taken it to their next generation 3-zone trio addressable RGB fans. These are really, really cool, and they give the build an even more further kind of stylized aesthetic, and is really going to give you a lot of flexibility to find the color palette that you're looking for. Personally, I think that probably when we finish everything off on this build, I think it would be really cool to go blue overall. I think it's going to give it a really kind of fresh, modern, distinctive look and feel. That would be my take, but of course with RGB, the color choice is up to you. Now in terms of the other kind of key RGB components, let's go ahead and cover those. So moving from the Flow 240, let's go ahead and talk about our memory. For the memory, we've gone ahead and tapped T-Force's Delta RGB DIMMs. These feature 5 independent RGB lighting zones, which I really actually like playing around with. I think for the blue themed build that I would like to finalize the color theme with, I might actually go with alternating patterns with white and blue. Or in some situations, I've also actually really been a big fan of kind of going with, like, let's say a purple and blue. I think this contrast kind of gives it an icy, but kind of like fresh and edgy kind of feel to it. So maybe you might change things up. And that's really the nice thing about having multiple points of RGB lighting built into things like the memory or the fans or other components, where you've got flexibility to go ahead and define different zones of color, but on actually the same product. Now the motherboard itself, which we already highlighted, also does feature RGB lighting on the side of the board, which gives it a little bit of kind of ambient flow, which definitely when you darken up the environment, you will definitely see. It's got 2 additional headers that are on the board as well for addressable and non-addressable RGB based accessories. So that's going to work great for additional LED strips. We've gone ahead and utilized 1, but we could connect more. So really the choice is up to you in that regard. Now beyond that, in terms of the graphics card, of course, we've gone ahead and tapped the absolute fastest card that you can get right now on the market, and that's going to be the RTX 2080 Ti. And of course, with it being all about performance, we went with the STRIX series OC variant. That means it is overclocked, and this is an absolute monster of a graphics card. It features an absolutely top-end cooling solution with a new max contact plate that makes contact with the actual GPU itself to be able to have absolutely high performance heat conduction from the GPU die to that heatsink assembly. You've got those triple fans, and then of course you've got impressive RGB lighting throughout the card. Zones here up at the front, a little bit of RGB lighting on the actual side, as well as actually the back plate. So depending on the orientation that you want to work with, the card's going to look great. Also, for those of you who want to take things further with even maybe secondary RGB LED strips, if you're not looking to maybe use Thermaltake's Premium Commander Extender, which would give you more flexibility, you also actually have an RGB header on this graphics card itself to allow you to go ahead and link other devices as well. Now, rounding things out, of course, for a system like this, you want to make sure that you've got more than enough power. As we noted, we were able to overclock our actual processor to over 5.2 gigahertz. Our graphics card, we can definitely comfortably overclock as well. And to be able to power all that, you want to be able to ensure you've got stable and reliable operation, and that's going to be coming from the power supply. So there, we've gone ahead and tapped Thermaltake's iRGB 850 watt fully modular PSU. It looks great. It's of course also got some RGB lighting for further customization and control, and really helps to overall set off the complete look and feel that we were looking for in this system. Last but not least, let's talk about storage. It's something you can't see because we're utilizing a mini ITX board and just the way things are set up. There's no way for you to visually be able to see the storage that we're utilizing. But the really cool thing about this board is that it features dual M.2. There's an actual M.2 slot that's in the front of the board, and then another one that's directly behind the board. And we've gone ahead and stacked it up with the latest generation Samsung 970 series of PCIe NVMe based SSDs. Now, we haven't gone ahead and RAID them together, but we could easily do that using the Easy RAID wizard, which is built into the UEFI for this motherboard. Either which way though, we're going to have an extremely responsive, high performance based system when it comes to the storage experience. And to top it off, we can also utilize our RAM cache feature, which allows us to go ahead and take a little bit of the memory and have it work in conjunction with those drives for even snappier and overall more responsive storage array. Now, last but not least, of course, with a high-end gaming system like this, you want to be able to rock some great peripherals to be able to make sure that you've got a really cool gaming experience. And we've rounded that out with the latest from the ASUS ROG lineup. So we've got the ROG STRIX Flare gaming keyboard. Of course, it's RGB, works in terms of ASUS Aura Sync, meaning that we can fully control every single one of these products through one single application, which is fantastic. And then, of course, for our mouse, we'll be utilizing the latest ROG Gladius 2 Origin. These are actually both the Black Ops Edition versions of these products, so you get a little bit of additional branding. So if you want to be able to jump into some zombies, or you want to be able to jump into Black Ops, you of course are going to be able to see that every time you look at these peripherals. And then underneath it all is, of course, the ROG Scabbard gaming surface. It's absolutely one of my favorites. It's huge. It really makes it so much easier to just be able to go ahead and spread out, have more than enough surface area for your gaming mouse and any other items that you want to have in your overall battle station. That overall rounds out our Z390 Mini ITX gaming build. I think it's a sweet looking build. So with that, make sure to go ahead and stay tuned here to the channel. You'll be seeing a lot more content around the latest 9th generation series processors, as well as Z390. And like we said, if you're interested in checking out a full ATX build guide, that's here on the YouTube channel, as well as an overclocking guide. With that, don't forget to subscribe. Take care, take it easy, and enjoy the rest of your day.